Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Wirt, and I'm a member of the Rolls-Royce Owners Club of Australia, the Victoria branch. It's a beautiful sunny day out today, which means that I've got some work cut out for me. What I have here is my car, the 1982 Rolls-Royce Silver Spur. It's got some issues, basically the leatherwork, mainly the driver's seat. It's got three large splits in the squab, the seat, and a rather large cut in the backrest. Now, I could get the leatherwork redone totally, but it's not a Concours car. And plus fact, I want a little bit of a challenge. I want to repair it using a repair kit. I've used a few in the past on some past cars. They were an abject failure. But going online, everybody seems to be recommending this American product called Magic Mender, so I thought I'd give it a try myself. Not only that, I'm going to share the experience with you and show you me doing the job, and hopefully we'll be able to get this correct and get it all fixed. So if you'd like to join me and have a look at this, and we'll see how we go. All right, wish me luck.
Alright, so here's the offending seat, the driver's seat, which of course is the seat that gets worn the most. As you'll see, there's some serious cracking and splitting on the squab of this seat, and also on the side of the backrest there as well. It obviously needs some urgent attention. What I'm going to do to start things off is I'm going to take the squab out, and just so I can drive the car about a little bit, I'm going to put the passenger side one in there. Obviously it's going to take some time to dry. They do say that you can dry it a little bit quicker with a hairdryer. I'm going to attempt that with one, and if that seems to work well, I'll try it with the rest. But you can actually let it dry overnight. You may not have the luxury of time on your side, so it really depends on what you prefer to do. Anyway, so I'm going to take the squab out and move the car back into the garage and bring the squab inside. Well, the squab came out quite easily. You can just pull it out basically. There's nothing really technical about that, which is quite refreshing for working on Rolls-Royce. You can see all the motor works underneath there that adjust the seat for height and adjustment. Which is also easy to get hold of as well. So I'm now going to put the other squab in just so I can move the car into the garage, and then I'll bring the other one inside to work on. Alright, so here's the squab on the table, the kitchen table. I'm sure it will impress my wife Helen no end. I suppose if I want to live long enough to finish this little clip, I better make sure that I don't make any mess anywhere. Now, I have the Magic Mender kit sort of splayed out for you here. These are about $60 US each, and because it does come from the USA, I thought, well, I better get three, because I've got no idea how much I will need, and the last thing I want is to run out at the crucial moment and find that I don't have any more. It's probably more than enough, but I thought I would take it on the safe side anyway. So on your left you've got the instructions, you've got some alcohol wipes which you smooth things down with and clean as you go. You've got this Presto Prep, and apparently this is what you clean the leather with before you start to prepare it. You've got some patches that obviously that's not going to be long enough for this single one, and that's probably another good idea why I bought some more, because I'll probably need some more than that. And look, to be honest, the crack is probably larger than what they would recommend. Probably shouldn't have left it so long, but I was looking around for the right type of repair kit, and of course once it cracks it tends to go fairly quickly. Anyway, we'll see how we go. I've got nothing to lose, to be honest. But this goes underneath here. We put the compound here, the repair compound, basically to stick the patch underneath first, and to let it dry. As I say, either with a hairdryer or let it air dry. I'm pinching my wife's hairdryer. I'm sure she'll be really impressed with that. You need to sort of rough up the surface, so there's some in this kit there's also some wet and dry. Obviously you'd need to go fairly lightly with that, but enough to give it some grip. Now the colour on this is a little bit different. There is a colour chart online with Magic Mender, and that's what it's called, Magic Mender. And there's a colour chart, but nothing seemed to match. So I've just got some, I went to the part of the website where it said basic colours, and I got chocolate brown, which I'm hoping is going to be as close as possible. That's the Colourflex 810, so that's the chocolate brown. But I did buy some tint as well, and apparently a little bit of this goes a long way. A bit of experimentation first before I put it on the leather with the colour. But it's tinting, and I'll mix it and try and get it as close as possible. You've got some applications tools here to apply the compound and to smooth it out. You use those alcohol wipes to smooth the compound out so it's as flat as possible, and some other application tools here which I've yet to find out what that's for. And this of course is to apply the colouring afterwards. Now apparently on the first coat you swipe it sideways across until you've coloured it, and then you let it dry, and then you dab it and basically feather it out so it matches with the rest. So I'm going to see how this goes. I'll read the instructions first, and wish me luck. Alright, now before we apply the Presto Prep, and obviously for the benefit of the camera, I'm going to have to do some parts one-handed. I will do it two-handedly off camera so I can get to it properly, but just to give you a general idea. Before you add this Presto Prep to prepare the surface, I'm going to hit the big one first, you do need to make sure that the leather's not completely dry. It does advise that, you know, for maybe 24 hours or so before, put some conditioner in there, let it soak right the way through so it does soften the surface up. But before you actually sand the surface, it says to put some Presto Prep onto the area. Excuse my shaky hand if the camera's not coming on properly, but we'll just dab a little bit on and rub it around the area. Actually, I have done this off camera a little bit before anyway, and it has to be completely dry and non-sticky. Now I've also actually put some of this underneath the crack as well to prepare it, the surface underneath, so it can adhere properly to the patch. So this has got to be completely dry and non-sticky. You can see that there's a little bit of colouring that has come off, so it's obviously take some of it off with it. And I'll just let that dry for a few minutes, and then after that, when it's properly dry, using the sandpaper or wet and dry that they have provided, I lightly rough up the surface. It's still a little bit sticky, so I will have to leave it for a little while to make sure it dries properly. Never one of my favourite jobs at the best of times, however, as instructions say, to lightly sand the area after the Presto Prep has thoroughly dried, which it has. I waited about 15 minutes, and so it was non-sticky. So now I'm rubbing the area, and then after that we put another dash of the Presto Prep over it to clean any of the residue from the sanding. So alright, so we're doing that. As I say, not one of my favourite jobs. I've always thought sanding to be quite a bit of a chore, but preparation is everything, isn't it? So I'll just make sure that we got that nice and dull, basically. Although it does say lightly sand, so I suppose as long as it's able to make sure that the preparation adheres to it properly, that's basically the reason why you're sanding it for. So here we go. All right, now I've sanded it. I've applied the second coat of Presto Prep and waited it to dry. I suppose the acid test is coming up with this first large one. I suppose my chief concern here is that it's quite a wide gap. I was arguing with myself whether I should press the seat together before I glued the underside, but I've decided not to because more than likely the amount of stress that would be put on that would probably separate it again. And obviously I'd say that the leather has shrunk anyway, so I have already put the patch underneath and glued the underside of the patch and the leather, and I'm now waiting for it to dry. I'll show you what I did when I get to perhaps this one later on. But at the moment, to allow it to dry, which will take some time, I've just put one of my torches on there just to put a bit of load onto the surfaces so they can be allowed to stick better together. So hopefully all this works and it sticks well. Then we'll go on to the next part of the process where we use the repair compounds to actually fill the area up here to make it even. Apparently not too much is to go on. You put a little bit on at a time to let it dry properly, and then you smooth it over once it's dry with some rubbing alcohol. There did have a couple in with the kit. I've got a sneaking suspicion it probably won't be enough, but you can apparently use the Presto Prep to do that as well in small amounts, very small amounts, because otherwise it will unglue it all. So we'll see how we go with that and go to the next step. Alright, so what I'm doing now is actually applying the repair compound after letting the patch dry. It seems to be sticking okay, we hope. You only put on a small amount at a time and smooth it over. You need to overlap it a little bit over to the sides, they say by about ½ an inch. I suppose that's to make sure that it's nice and even and that it actually sticks to the sides as well. This can also be used to go over to creases or scratches or something like that in small areas that aren't split. Maybe if you just want to rejuvenate the surface of your leather, and then obviously use the colour compound afterwards to hide any creases. It's a matter of personal choice, I suppose. Some people prefer those creases to give it character. Some people like it to look, I suppose, as near as new as possible, or at least to stop it from spreading. I suppose that could be another good reason. You need to put on a small amount at a time, like I'm doing, and smoothing it over as much as possible so it aligns itself with the leather. It does say that it's probably to put a little bit too much rather than too little, because you can always smooth it back afterwards. I noticed a little bit of the patch has sort of moved up a bit, but hopefully, because it's fairly deep actually, I don't think that's really going to matter too much. So I'm just putting it on relatively haphazardly at the moment, and you can actually apply another coat after it's dry if you do see some imperfections. To be honest, I will be happy if it's repaired the patch and stopped it from splitting any further and makes it presentable. I'm not expecting it to come up to Concours standard, Let's face it, if you wanted Concours standard, then you're going to replace the leather anyway. But if it makes it presentable and obviously saves the leather, which is the primary objective here, to stop it getting any worse, then I'll be very happy. My car, of course, is not a Concours car. It's a car that is used quite extensively, and so this is perfect for the purposes that I want to use it for. I would expect that there may be some sort of evidence of repair there. If there isn't, then I'll be very pleased. But certainly, if it does make it presentable and fills the surface up from what it's supposed to do, then I'll be very pleased indeed. So, all right, I've put this on, smoothing it out as much as I can. Sorry, I've gone out of thing here. Smoothing out as much as I can, and taking off as much excess as I can and moving it over to the center. And this, okay, I could probably put the hairdryer over it, and it says not to bring the hairdryer closer than a foot, 30 centimeters, whatever you like, to help dry it a little bit quicker. But also it said that it's probably better that it dries nice and slowly, like most glues or repair compounds. If it dries too quickly, I would assume that it would tend to crack, and that's the last thing you want it to do. So I've put that on, and I might be tempted actually just to put the hairdryer over it just to dry it off. But it does say that to properly cure, it'll take about 24 hours. So it's not a job that I would suggest that, well, you might be able to do it all in one day. But if you're not in any particular hurry, it's probably, and you really shouldn't be in a hurry when you're doing this, I would say that it would be better to let it dry slowly and properly, and with any luck it'll adhere and make the end result much better. The acid test, of course, is that once I put my bum back on it, when it's all finished, that it doesn't immediately split, as is the case that I've tried with other products before. But apparently this is quite durable, and I'm hoping that it will keep the leather in good condition for a few more years to come. That's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see. We'll let this dry, and we'll go to the next step. So while I'm waiting for the other items to dry, I've started on the other one. This is one of the patches that I'm putting in. A little bit difficult with one hand. I suppose these are things you do when you try and film things, isn't it? But you make sure that there's roughly about a half an inch on each side, centimetre, whatever you call it, on each side, to make sure that it's got plenty of anchor points really when you put the repair compound in. And you can also use your little applicator to flatten it out a little bit on the inside. You don't want it creased, of course. So you just get this on the inside here. Sorry, I keep moving the camera. Very difficult to do things one-handed. So we've got, almost had that there. So we've got to get that in nice and flat around there. Pull it down a little bit, obviously, and I will of course need to put another patch down here, but it's a little sort of a mesh patch, a little bit concerned. Well, luckily, I mean, there is enough for these. I'm glad I purchased the 3 items, otherwise I would have been in strife. But I suppose maybe a bit of cheesecloth or muslin cloth or something like that would suffice if you ran out. So I'll just go and get the other piece in there, and then of course I'll prep that. I've decided that with these preparations here, that I will let it dry for at least 24 hours and before I do anything further, because I really want it to set properly. And I'm looking at the size of this one, as I said from the outset, that it's probably a little bit bigger of a repair than they'd recommend. So there's sort of a bit of desperation here, I suppose. But we'll see how it goes. It's a good test, because if it does work on a tear that size, then you should be pretty much safe with everything else that's smaller. So let's see how that goes. No doubt I will need to put another coating of the compound on it, and I don't think you actually need that to thoroughly dry before you put the next one on. Just make sure that the surface is hard enough for you to put the second application in place. So we'll see how we go with that. I have done the squab, and I'm sort of waiting for it to dry. So now I've also filled the backrest, which you also noticed that was torn before, and I'm starting to apply the colouring, and I have matched it and on a small test piece to ensure that it does match, and luckily it does. So what you do basically, and I have to be very ginger while I'm holding the camera, is you give this a good shake, put it on the sponge as such, and you do it very sparingly, less is more. So the first coat, you run it across like this, basically over the patch that you've done. Now you can do it fairly sparingly. Obviously there'll be some little nooks and crannies that need to be filled, and I'm sorry if I sometimes go out of focus trying to sort of hold the camera and do this at the same times. Not quite as easy as it looks. Do this sparingly and allow it to dry completely. The first, and you might notice here that I'm actually rubbing the sponge over it. You do this on the first coat only. A couple of little other areas you can see that that haven't been repaired, but still obviously need a little bit of colouring. Now of course, when you're putting on new colour, like any paint job really, it's obviously probably not going to match completely with the old one. It might be the right colour, but over the years of course it would have faded and all that, so you do need to feather it out a little bit. Now this fortunately is water soluble, so I can just rinse this out, and as a matter of fact on the second coat it's good that the sponge is actually damp with water, because it spreads it more evenly. You might need say 2 or 3 coats of this colouring on top of there, and then let it dry thoroughly. After you've done that, you then put your leather conditioner, whatever you use, whether it's Connolly Hyde Food or some other proprietary brand, or even Dubbin's pretty good for this, and place it on that afterwards. And that's a good thing about this particular preparation, is that you can use, and I was a bit concerned about it when I first read about it, but you can actually use leather conditioner over this preparation. In fact, they recommend it, which I think is fantastic, because I was wondering whether, you know, this filler, whether it would run straight off. But no, it's porous, it's flexible, and acts just like leather, which is fantastic. Now I have completed the squab, and I'll take the camera indoors and show you. It's not perfect, but there again, I'm very happy with it. probably not the best light here. However, it's quite a satisfactory result. You can see that there's still some creases through there, which you don't want it to be like new. I mean, the car is 30 years old. You want the leather to have a bit of character. So I feel that I'm very happy with the way this has turned out. If you wanted it to be a Concours finish, then obviously you'd pay the expense of putting new leather on there. But as you can see, the overall finish is very satisfactory. And I'll show you this again once it's inside the car. Well, about 15 minutes have passed, and it's a nice sunny day. I've left the car out in the sun so it would sun dry. I've avoided using the hair dryer. It probably takes longer to dry, but I think in this case patience is probably the best virtue here. You could probably do all of this within a day if you use the hair dryer, but I feel that letting it dry naturally, it's going to be much more supple. If the car's not going to be used every day, then you've got plenty of time in which to do it. I'm now going to apply the second coat, and in this case you don't brush it on like I did before, you dab it on. Now I'm going to have to put the camera down while I put the paint in place onto the pad. This has now been moistened with water, so it helps thin it out a little bit. You don't want it to go on too thick. You just dab it over, and you might need 2 or 3 coats on top of this until you cover everything. Less is more in this situation, so just dab it on gently. You might find that it looks unfinished under the first dab, and maybe the second or even third coat, but just keep going until it's complete. So let's put some more of this this paint on, or the colour flex they call it. This is a good job to do outside, because if you do have to kick the bottle over, well, it's not going to go all over the floor, is it? So we dab this just like that and spread it out, so that way it spreads the colour across. You've got a far better chance of it matching with the other parts of the leather. This is actually going on quite well, as you can see, hopefully. Unfortunately, we are in a bit of shadow, so I'm hoping that the film comes out quite well. This particular colouring, it looks a little bit lighter when it first goes on. Don't be too concerned, because it does get darker as it dries. This the colour of my seat is a chocolate brown, so obviously you'll need to make sure you get the correct colour scheme to match up with it. You may need to get some sort of tinting, and just do a little bit on a test piece somewhere, where it's not going to cause too much heartache if you bugger it up. There is a little, I'll worry about this bit later, but you can see in the gaps there's just a little bit that this doesn't get to. There is a little cotton bud swab here, so you can dip that into the paint and run that along the lines. Apologies if sometimes the camera goes off the side as I'm doing this. And you can run this along the seams here to fill that colour up. You can go relatively thickly in this, because that will soak in, and of course dabbing the rest of the colouring afterwards will certainly compensate for any thickness of paint around this area. So alright, I won't bore you with the 3rd or 4th coats. I'll wait for the finished product to show you what it looks like. But what I would then do is that this particular coating here does finish with a matte finish. You can actually purchase a gloss or a semi-gloss clear to go over it. I didn't. Maybe I should have. However, I've noticed that when I've put the leather conditioner over the top, it comes back to its natural shine anyway. So you may not need to do that. So try that first before spending any more money. But I will show you the completed product when it's dry. So back soon. Well, there we go, folks. It's all done. I have put some leather conditioner on it, which has given it sheen back. And overall, I'm very happy with it. I think it's done an excellent job. Does it look brand new? No, it doesn't. In fact, I think that's actually a good thing. It shows some care lines. The thing is that if you want something to look brand new, then obviously go to an upholsterer and put some new leather in. But I actually think it's a good thing because the thing is that it's preserved the original leather. It's given it a new lease of life, and anybody that wants to maintain their cars for a fraction of the cost of getting new leather, I think this is the way to go. I really do. Look, there are many leather repair kits online. I went on Google and I found that this particular product, Magic Mender, seemed to get the best reviews. I did try some leather repair kits about 20 years ago, and to be quite honest, they were totally useless. Made it look worse than what it started with. Is it perfect? Well, no, it's not, but that's probably me rather than the product. In fact, I know it's me rather than the product. I could have finished it off perhaps just a little bit better, but look, for my purposes, it's perfect. I'm very happy with the outcome, and I'm sure some of you with probably a more craftsmanship or artistic bent would probably do a much better job than I. However, I think you'll agree that if you go back to the start of this film and see what it looked like from the outset, I think that you'll agree with me that it's a massive improvement. It really is. I think it looks very natural. The blemishes actually seem to complement the rest of the creases, so from that point of view I probably have done a very good job. So give it a try. Look, it was not expensive. I actually wasn't sure if they were going to give me enough product to do the seat, so I bought actually 3 packets of this Magic Mender. I really only needed one after all, but there's plenty left, so I can sort of go around the rest of the car. There are a few other places, but this was by far the worst. And now I've got this confidence to go out and do the rest of the job and know that it's going to turn out as well as this, if not better, because I've now been practiced at it. I thoroughly recommend to all members or anybody else that's interested in preserving their leather, if it starts to look aged, there's cracks in there, I think this is the way to go, and it will certainly stop it from deteriorating any further. So I've saved my original leather, and for that I'm extremely happy.
Well, I've done it, and well, hopefully you'll agree. I'm quite happy with the outcome, and I think that it looks more than presentable. If it was going to go in as a Concours car, obviously I'd replace all of the leatherwork. But this is not a Concours car, this is a car that is regularly used and enjoyed, and that's basically what the club's for, to enjoy the cars. So I hope that you have learned something from it. I hope you can get a lot out of it. Now I'd like to quickly talk about the Rolls-Royce Owners Club of Australia, particularly my branch, the Victoria branch. We have many activities. In fact, we're a very active club. We have our monthly outings, generally the 3rd Sunday of every month. We have our monthly meeting, generally the 2nd Thursday of every month. We have our technical sections, and that is generally the 1st Sunday of every 2nd month. And we have quite a lot of things going on there. We have a youth activities. Yes, we do have young members, and they're very, very keen, and we're so glad that we've got them. It really means that it's going to keep continuing, our club's continuation throughout the years. And obviously the preservation of our wonderful motor cars. Now, with our outings, we have all sorts of different things. We have gymkhanas, we have picnic outings, we have all those sorts of things. We have two wonderful rooms that were provided to us by very generous donors. We have our club rooms, which is quite sizable, can hold well over 100 people quite comfortably. We have a workshop, and this was also by money donated to the Sir Henry Royce Foundation, which is a charitable trust, and we are very fortunate that we are able to use these buildings. So they're both of our homes as far as the cars are concerned, some for the meeting purposes and obviously some for the technical purposes where we can work on the cars, teach owners about their cars and get them to generally familiarise themselves with them. So we would love to see you come to our meetings. If you've got a Rolls-Royce or Bentley motor car, or even if you don't have one but you're an enthusiast, if you really love these two marques, by all means visit our website. I'll provide you with a link, and we can invite you along to our meetings or one of our outings. More importantly, join us. You can apply to our secretary, and we'll also have the link to that, and he can send you an application form. Most importantly, come and meet us. We're a friendly bunch. We're not stuffy at all. In fact, our love is of the cars, and we would really love to see you join our club, or at least come along and see for yourself. All right, you have a fantastic day, all of you. Thank you for joining me. I hope this has been of some interest to you. Bye-bye for now.